Hey guys, welcome back to a new episode of Dev Drawer. Today we're going to be going over how to install Git using Visual Studio Code, how to use it, how to create a clone of something, how to create a new project, and then be able to branch from it. So just some Git stuff. This is going to be a short video just because the holidays are coming up over here, and I don't know what time availability I'll have to do a video before Thanksgiving, but I'm going to try to get one out to you guys as soon as possible. This may actually come after Thanksgiving, but I guess let's go ahead and get started. But before we do, if you like this channel, definitely subscribe to it. I got new videos like this once a week, and leave me a thumbs up on the video and a comment and let me know what else you would like for me to do. So let's go ahead and get into it. So inside of Visual Studio Code, I'm going to open up the terminal window, and I've already created a folder inside of my documents called Git. You don't have to do that. You can actually create individual project folders for whatever you need, but I kind of feel like if you store them together, it works out a lot better. So inside of this folder, it's currently blank, but I'm going to start adding some repositories here. But before we do that, we actually need to set up our GitHub if you haven't done it before. If you've done it before, then this configuration, you can go ahead and skip over it. But what you need to do whenever you're setting up your profile for Git is you need to type in git config. So let's do git config global, and then we're going to do user.name, and then it's going to be my name, so devdrawer, or your name in this case. So we're going to do devdrawer is the username that I want to go by whenever I go to push things and pull things from the repositories. And then we're going to do another one. Instead of username, we're going to change this to user email, and then that's going to be the email address. So I'm just going to do contact@thedevdrawer.com as the email address that I want to associate with this Git installation. You can have those say whatever you want it to say. I'm not in SSH. How do you do this in Windows? I cannot remember. Alright, well, that's fine. We'll just leave it up there for now. So once you have your information set up, we need to set up an SSH key. If you're not familiar with the SSH key, whenever you go to connect to something and you want to clone it directly from Git, if you want to do the SSH version of it, you need to set up an SSH key. In this tutorial, I'm actually going to be showing you just how to use the HTTPS version of it, which is fine for how we're currently doing it. But if you wanted to set up something with your using SSH, this is how you would do it. So you could type, you need to change the directory into your .ssh folder. On Windows, that is usually located at, let me see, C users, your username .ssh, and I'll show you that in just a second. So if I cd into C users, my username, and then .ssh, it brings me to the .ssh folder. If this folder doesn't exist, you can just create it, and then you can store all of your SSH there. But it should be, if you're using anything like OpenSSH on your Windows machine already, it should already be there. If not, then you can just create that folder for this tutorial. So once you get into that folder, you would type in something like ssh-keygen, and then this will generate your RSA key pairs, and we can name it whatever we want to name it. I'm just going to name it GitHub RSA, and then I'm just going to leave the passphrase blank for this specific file just to make it easier. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up this folder here on my Windows Explorer, and inside of that I'm going to have a file. I'm going to have two files with this exact same name that I added here, so this GitHub RSA. The one that I want to look at is one that has the .pub extension. Don't double click on it because it's going to try to open up in Microsoft Publisher if you have it installed, which I do. So don't double click it. What you can do is right click on it, and you can open it up with Notepad++ or Notepad, or whatever, Visual Studio if you're using that. So I'm going to go ahead and open it up on mine, and then I'm going to copy over my SSH-RSA. So you're going to need this key in your account. So I'm going to switch over to the Chrome browser right now, and this is my GitHub profile for DevDrawer. You can see some of the previous projects that I've done where in the videos you have access to some of the code. So inside of this, we're going to go over to our profile settings, and then we're going to click on SSH and GBG keys, Then we're going to click on new SSH key, and we're going to paste in that RSA that we copied. So this is going to be blurred on the video whenever I actually do the editing, so you won't be able to see what this key is. Just, man, it's a bunch of stuff you can put on there, but they usually begin, like if I take it away, you can see where it says SSH RSA, SSH ED 25519. So right now we're just using the SSH RSA. But your key will begin with that exact same thing, which you can see here. Everything else should be blurred for you, so you can't see the key. And it'll probably be a key that I just delete after this video anyway, so don't try to use it. It's not going to be accurate. And then I'm just going to name this dev drawer, just because it's going to my dev drawer account. So now I have that SSH key generated, and I'm going to switch back over to the Visual Studio Code editor. And then inside of this editor, we are going to add a Git to this. Actually, you know what? I need to switch over. Just lost my train of thought, but let me open up this Git folder. So I'm going to CD into this Git folder. So we're going to do CD into this Git folder, which you can do, or you can create your own folder, however you want to do it. But what I'm going to do right now is we're going to take the code from GitHub, and we're going to run the clone, and it's going to push it into this for us. And again, we're using the HTTPS. So the SSH stuff that we just did, you may not even need it whenever you're using, if you're using like the HTTPS version of it. But if you go to try to use the SSH version of it, then that key would come into play then. All right, so let me open up the browser again here, and then I'm just going to go click on any one of them. So let's click on the sample design project, and then we're going to click on code. And I'm just going to copy over the HTTPS. So this is where the HTTPS, SSH, all that kind of stuff will come into play at. If you were doing SSH, you would just copy this, but we're going to be copying this HTTPS URL. So now that we have that copied, we'll switch back over to Visual Studio. Now that we're back over here, one thing that we can do to make it a little bit easier, just because I don't like the default command window for Windows. I like using Bash or PowerShell for Windows. We can come over here and click this little drop down and hit select default shell, and we're just going to switch that over to, you can switch it over to either one of these. I'm just going to keep it in PowerShell right now. And then we're going to close out that terminal window, and we're going to open up a new one. And you can see now that we're inside of PowerShell. So it just makes it a little bit easier to manage it a little bit, just because the default command window for Windows is it's not as good as PowerShell, in my opinion. You know, you can use it if you want to, but that's just a personal preference of mine. So while we're in this window, let me switch over. So I'm in the folder now that I needed to get to. So this is the Git folder that I created earlier, and I'm going to switch back over to my browser here, and I opened up the project window that we need. So this is just the sample design project that I have. I'm going to click on the code here, and I'm just going to select the HTTPS. I'm going to copy this, and then I'm going to switch back over to Visual Studio. And then inside of Visual Studio, since I'm in the folder that I want, I'm going to do git clone, and then I'm going to paste in that URL. So now we have the sample design project here. So if we do cd sample design project, we're now in that folder. We can do something like git status, and it'll show us that we're currently up to date on this branch with the main branch. So now that's how you clone something into your Visual Studio work environment. So now let's get into some of the commands that you can run on this. So a lot of the stuff that we're going to be doing is going to be in the terminal of Visual Studio, because it's Git, so it's going to be on our Windows machine. I'll switch over to the browser to show you a few things like how it's changing, how we're able to create a branch. Actually, while I'm thinking about it, let me go ahead and do that. So let me switch over to Chrome. And inside of Chrome, you can see that this currently only has one branch, or on the main branch. This is just the one branch. The entire project is just this one branch. So what I want to do is I'm going to edit this README file, but I'm going to create a separate branch to do it. And then once we get done doing that, we can merge the code. So let's switch back over to Visual Studio, and then all of our changes that we're going to be doing now are going to be happening inside of Visual Studio. So let's come over here, and we're going to do a git checkout, and then we're going to create a branch with it. So git checkout, and then -b, and we're going to call this, I don't know, let's say like v1.0.1. Actually, let's just get rid of the v. So 1.0.1, and then we're going to check it out from the main branch. And if you're not familiar, it used to be master branch, but it was recently changed to main. So it used to say origin master, now it says origin main. So that's just FYI in case you've seen a video where it references master, it's now main. So we're going to check out the main branch and create a branch called version 1.0.1. And now you see it says that we switch to a new branch 1.0.1, and if we do a git status, you can now see that we're on 1.0.1. Nothing's been committed, so we don't have to worry about anything being committed yet. So I'm going to minimize this a little bit. Let's get out of this, and we're going to open up that README file. And then on here, I'm going to just add some text. See, version 1.0.1 was added to the README, and then I'm just going to save that. Now if I come down here again and do a git status, you can see that it's modified this readme.md file. So what we need to do is we have this file that's been modified, so we can look at the information that they provide here. No changes to commit, use git add or git commit a. The way that I normally do it is if I'm modifying just a few files that I know what I'm modifying, I'll do the commit a. If I have a very large branch and I'm not 100% certain of the files that I'm modifying, I'll do them one at a time, because sometimes you don't know how those files are going to affect the rest of your code. So if you have a pretty good understanding of Git, using the git commit a is the better way to go. It kind of commits everything, so just make sure that you're aware that it's going to commit everything. If you just want one or two files to be committed, you would actually just git commit that file name. But for right now, I'm going to do the git commit a. So we're going to do git commit -a, and then we're also going to do a -m, which allows us to write the message in this window rather than having to open up a new file, which if we just ran git commit a, it's going to commit it, but then it's going to ask us for a commit message, and it's going to open you up in a nano editor or something like that. So if we want to do this in the terminal window, we do commit -a -m, and then we add our commit. So I'm just going to add in added tutorial for GitHub modified README, and then I'm just going to commit that message. So now we have this file has been changed, and we have the message associated with it, so we can do a git push, which isn't going to work. It's going to actually tell us that our origin is different. So if we do a git push right now, it's going to say git push set upstream. So what you can do is you just copy this, and this will set your upstream. So every time you go to do a push in this branch, it'll be set to that 1.0.1 branch. So now we have this branch that is being produced, and it's asking me off screen. You can't see it, but it's asking me to log into it. So let me go ahead and log into GitHub. So give me just a second. Okay, so I got to authorize it. Apparently I've never authorized I've never used GitHub on this machine, so I need to authorize GitHub. Okay. Alright, so if you run into that issue, which I just did, I wasn't expecting to see that, essentially it's going to open up a browser window for you to confirm that you want to log into your GitHub profile. So let's verify our changes went through, and we're going to open up Chrome again, and then you can see up here it says 1.0.1 has recent pushes less than a minute ago. So if we go over to our branches here, you can see that we now have a new branch. So that is essentially the way that you would go in there and create a new branch, and then once you get that branch created, you can merge it into your main branch from this interface. Which I usually do just because it gives me an extra layer of security, I guess, quality assurance, where you can go in there and see all of the changes in this interface rather than trying to do a merge through the command line. Again, that's just another personal preference of mine, but what we can do here is we can actually merge that into our main branch. So I'm going to click on my branch here, and I usually use GitLab for all of my stuff, but this is a lot easier for y'all to access. So I'm not 100% familiar with this interface too much, but let's see. We're going to go ahead and click on compare and pull request. And okay, that's what I was looking for. So we are going to pull this 1.0.1 into our main branch, and we can see here it is able to merge. So from a quality assurance perspective, you could create a task for other people in your organization to be able to pull this into your main branch. But since I'm the only person in this organization, I'm just going to go ahead and pull it. And I'm going to leave a comment here. Pull approved for merge based on simple change. And then I'm going to create that pull request. And it's going to tell me that now it checked it, make sure that everything is good, and then we can merge this pull request into our main branch. And now we have successfully merged this branch, so if we need to, we can go in here and delete this branch. I'm not going to delete it for now, just because there's some other things we might want to do on it with this tutorial. But if we go back over to our code, we can scroll down and see that version 1.0.1 was added to the README. And just like that, that's how you create a branch from your main branch, make your changes to it, and then you're able to merge it into that main branch. So just in case you've never done that before, which a lot of people haven't done simple Git commands, so hopefully this helps you out a little bit whenever you're trying to figure out how to structure your applications that you're developing. This will give you a way to kind of play around with some features without breaking your overall code. Okay, so now we have this in here. I'm going to go ahead and remove this text off of it because this is actually being used for another video that I've done. So inside of here, we are going to just come in here and delete what we did. We're going to save it, and then we're going to do the same thing that we did previously. So git commit a, and then I'm just going to remove the message from README. Removed message from README. And that's it. So now we do our git push. And now we're going to have changed this branch that is currently out there that needs to be merged into it. And you guys didn't see anything I just did. Sorry, I forgot to switch over. Visual Studio. So I removed the text, and then I did the same thing, git commit am, remove message from README. Then I did a git push, and that brings me to now we're still on version 1.0.1 over here. So I'm going to switch back over to Chrome and go back to our branches, and we're just going to click on the main this time. So it still says it's updated there, and we want to create a pull request. So we go to new pull request from base main from 1.0.1 able to merge. We're going to create that pull request, remove message from README. I'm not going to leave a comment for this one. Then we're just going to create the pull request, and then we're going to merge it directly into it. So merge pull request, confirm. And at this point, I'm going to remove this branch now. So we're going to delete that branch. And now if we go back to our code, that information at the bottom of it is now gone. And we currently only have one branch, which is the main branch. So we're kind of back at where we started at, even though we made a change in a different branch. Everything's been kind of undone because I removed it and then removed that branch. So that's kind of where we need to be at. So let me switch back over to Visual Studio. All right. So now what we can do is pull our main branch down back to our project. So that way, because right now this this new branch exists on our local, but it doesn't exist on our remote. So if I do a git status, you can see that we're still here. But what I want to do is branch pull from the main branch. So on here we're going to do git checkout main, and now we're back on the main. So if I do git status, you can see that we are currently on the main exactly to where we need to be at. So this kind of brings us back to where we were previously. We've checked out the main branch again, and if we do a git pull, I don't think it'll pull anything, but let's see. Yeah, it did, because we actually made those modifications. Even though it was something we removed, we merged it into the main branch. If we wouldn't have removed that code and we wanted to start over, we could just check out the main branch again, do a git pull, and that message that we would have had here would still be here. So right now it's not here because we removed it, but we were able to git pull. So let's say if you and another developer are working on the same project, you make changes to it and then you merge it into the main or whatever branch that you're working on, and he's working on the main or the same branch, he has to go in there and pull that code before he can push his, or else you're going to end up with conflicts. So now I want to create a new project. So inside of Visual Studio, I'm going to cd back one, and let's go ahead and clear this out. And just so you know, the clear does work a lot better in PowerShell than it does in Command. I know it's CLS, but for some reason I still couldn't get that to work. So we're just not going to worry about that right now, but it does work. What I want to do here is create, let's see, still in the same thing. So cd back one. There we go. Now we can clear. I want to create a new folder here, and I'm actually going to create a new repository on my GitHub server, and then we're going to pull that entire thing over. And you have to create them in tandem. So if you have an existing project, it's not too difficult to create a GitHub or a Git file in that project where you can start managing that code. But for right now, we're going to start with a blank folder, and we're still going to create the repository on GitHub. So let me go ahead and create this folder here. So I want to do make dir, and I'm going to just call this sample git. Alright, so now we have this sample git folder here. We're going to cd into it, so sample git, and then I'm going to do git initialize, and that's going to create a git folder or git file inside of this, so we can actually start using git for this folder. Now with this folder, we're going to have to create something on our GitHub in order to kind of tie them in together. So let's go ahead and do that now. So let's switch over to our Chrome browser, and inside of here we're going to create a new project. So we need to click on the plus sign, create a new repository, and I'm just going to call this sample git. So sample git. Let's just do this so I can name it the same way. So sample-git is what we called it in the folder structure. And then we're just going to make it public. We don't need to add anything to it right now. We're just going to create a blank repository. And then once you get to this screen, it'll tell you how you can take it and bring it down to what you just created on your computer. What we're going to be looking at is this part, because it's technically an existing repository on our local computer. If we didn't create anything first, we could just pull down the entire thing the way that we did previously, but we already created that folder. So what we're going to do is we're going to copy this. So copy this, and then I'm going to open it up in Visual Studio, and we're going to go to our terminal, and we're just going to paste that in, and then we're going to run it. So now they're tied in together. So then we can do the same thing that we did first. So we're going to do git branch -m main. Branch rename failed. Let me see, git status. No commits yet on branch master. Alright, well let's add something to it first. So we're going to do a new file here. Let's do readme.md, and then here we're just going to put in, let's just put in sample readme file. Alright, so I save that. Then now we do git status, and we have that one untracked file. So now we can do our other command that we ran. So git commit -a -m, and then this could be just initial commit. Well, that didn't work the way I wanted it to. Did I do that right? Going back up. -a -m. Okay. So let's just do git commit add. Git add, not git commit add. So git add. So git add, and we're just going to add everything that's currently in this folder to it. And now if we do git commit -m initial commit, we're going to save that, and now we're going to do git push, and we need to set it as the upstream as master. So let me make sure that this one is has a master branch on it. It's saying main, so let's change that up to main. So change this to main master. Okay, well, apparently they're still working on that renaming thing. Alright, so now the branch master is set up to track remote branch master from the origin. So I'm going to switch back over to Chrome, and I've refreshed the screen so you can see here the README file has now been added to it. Thought the hashtag would have given me something there. So let me see my other README file. Maybe I didn't put the hashtag in the right place. Oh, there was a space in between. Okay, so space. Alright, so let's update that. So git commit -a -m fixed README. And then we're going to do git push, and now we should be able to see what I actually wanted you to see. So I just added a space in between this. So now if we refresh, it should be an actual H1 tag. So in case you're not familiar with the README file structure, you know, hash symbols stand for header tags. So that's why I made it a header tag here. So that's how you create a new remote repository, how you add it to GitHub, and then how you merge both of them together. So we can do the same thing that we did in the previous part of this tutorial. Let me switch back over before I forget to do that, where we can create a new branch on this. So if we come over to, what was it? I'm just trying to find the, here we can just go up in our code. So git checkout, and then we're going to call it, yeah, sure, let's do 1.0.1. So it's the same thing. So git checkout -b, then the branch name that you want to do, and then where you're pulling it from. So this isn't going to be main, it's going to be master. So master. And now we're on branch 1.0.1, and then we can come in here and just add something to it. So I'm just going to add in another header, and this is a H2 tag. Save that, and then the whole process again. So git commit -a -m, and then we're just going to say add it H2 tag. And now we do git push, and again it's going to tell us that we need to set the upstream. So I'm just going to copy this, and we're going to paste that in. And now we have our new repository now has 2 branches. So we can do whatever kind of work we want to do inside of this branch that you would normally do. So let's just switch back over to Chrome, and inside of Chrome we can see that we currently have 1.0.1, and I'm not going to merge it just because I've already showed you guys how to do that, but we have currently 2 branches for this project now. It's taking a little while to get there. There we go. So we got our master branch and our I don't know why it still says master. That's weird. I thought everything changed, but I guess there's still some places that it needs to be changed on. So 1.0.1 has been updated by us, and then we can come in here and see our changes, which has the h2 tag on it now. Alright, so that is how you create a new repository, and then how you push it into GitHub with the command line. So just keep in mind that whenever you create a new repository on your local environment, you have to also create it on your GitHub account or GitLab or whatever Git repository that you're using. You still have to do the same process, because if we try to push to something that didn't exist, it's going to let you know that it doesn't exist, and that's a common mistake that a lot of people make, is that they don't create that branch on their account, and then it technically doesn't exist whenever they go to push out to it. So then they troubleshoot it for hours just to find out they needed to create it. So just make sure that you go into your GitHub account or GitLab or whatever it is and create that repository, and then follow the instructions that it gives you after you create it to combine the two of them. So for overall Git usage, that's kind of it. I mean, you basically create branches, merge code, create new repositories. That's pretty much the gist of the general things that you can use in Git. However, there is some other cool things. So let me switch back over to Visual Studio, and inside of here we can do something called Git Diff, and that'll show us the difference between two files. So if I come over here and let's just add something else. So we're going to do 3. This is an h3 tag, and then we're going to save that. Now if we do git status, we can see that that readme has been modified. So if we run a git diff command, so we do git diff, that'll show us what has changed between those two files. So we have our initial file that was here, that was already saved and pushed out, and then we have our new addition of the h3 tag. So you can kind of see that there's a plus sign here. If we come in here and remove this, for example, and save that, if we do git diff again, you'll see that now we have a minus of the h2 tag and a plus of the h3 tag. So it's just a simple way to kind of see what you're doing before you do it, just in case you're not, if you worked on a file yesterday and then you need to remember what changes you made yesterday, you can just run a git diff on it, and it'll show you what modifications you've made. You can also see this inside of your GitHub console, where you can do like a diff over there as well. So there's a few different places you can see this, but I see that if it's a simple change, I like to be able to look at it here just to make sure that the changes that I want to go through are actually going through. If not, I'll create another branch and then make those changes and then merge into the branch that I'm currently working on. And then if everything's working the way I want it to, I'll merge it into my master or my main branch. Now another thing that you can do here is git log. Git log will show you all of the changes that I've made and who made them. So if we do a git log on this, it'll show us that dev drawer added h2 tag, dev drawer fixed readme, so it shows everything that's been done to the file so far. Where is it at? Here. So this is all the stuff that currently exists on it. This h3 tag that I added doesn't currently exist. It's only on my machine. So if someone else, another developer, ran this code, they wouldn't be able to see the change that I made until I go to push it out and I merge it into the same branch that they're currently working on. So let me go ahead and clear this out. Let's see. All right, switch back over. Nope, that's not what I want to do. Okay, let me just open up a new terminal. There we go. All right, so inside of this, run a git status. Git status and git clone and git merge is going to be, so git pull, you should run pull before you make any changes to anything. Yep, I need a cd sample git and then run git status. So these commands are going to be something that you should remember to do automatically before you make any kind of changes to anything. So git status, git pull, just in case you have other developers that are working on the same thing that you are. You want to make sure that you have the most up-to-date code on your branch of the source code that you're currently working on is up to date what they have. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a git checkout, master. And that's fine. I don't care about overriding the README file. So what I'm going to do is, let's do a Git Stash. A Git Stash is just going to basically take the changes that I've done on my local environment. It's going to stash them off to the side. You can use them later if you want to, but it just kind of hides what you're doing there. So we're going to do Git Stash there, and then we're going to do Git checkout master. And now I can check out that master without that conflict happening, because the Git Stash just kind of hides my code. And since this is unimportant code, it doesn't really matter to me. If you need to do a Git Stash, I would only do that if you absolutely have to. And then you can do research a little bit more on how to get it back from a Git Stash. But right now, let's just say that I'm doing a Git Stash to push it out of the way. And then I'm checking out that master again. So once I get to that master being checked out, there's a few things I want to show you how to do on this. So first thing, let's go ahead and do git branch. Then I'm just going to name it 1.0.2. And now we're currently in that branch. So git status. Nope. What did I do? I don't have any branches. Oh, that's because I didn't do the initial run. So there's another command that you need to have there. So git branch here. Git branch. It's not what I'm looking for either. I need to check out. I'm already checked out on this branch. So git branch minus m 1.0.2. Oh, okay. All right. So I forgot. If you scroll up a little bit, I forgot to put the minus m right here. Basically, the minus m is to make the branch. So now I'm on branch 1.0.2, and I'm currently up to date with the master. So what I want to show you here is, I lost my train of thought during that. So I've already showed you stash, branch, commit, git pull. So git pull is something important. So let's say if I'm working on version 1.0.2 and there's already a branch that exists out there, this version 1.0.2. It's kind of hard to show you whenever I'm currently on that branch and I'm the only developer in that window. But on 1.0.2, let's say if I created 1.0.2 yesterday and we have 3 developers on our team. Well, somebody else from the team is also working on 1.0.2, doing their modules or whatever it is. So whenever I want to make a change to this branch, I would run git pull of the 1.0.2 branch that I'm currently on before I make any changes. And then I'll make my changes, but I don't want to add them to 1.0.2 because other people are working on that as well. So let's say I'm going to make a change here. So add it h2. So I'm going to save that. Now, I don't want to push this out to 1.0.2 just yet. What I actually want to do is I want to create another branch. So let's say if my part of 1.0.2 is done, but I still need to make changes, I need to bring it to another branch, 1.0.3. So if I do a git status, that's going to show me that I've modified this file. So what I want to do is bring over my file changes to this new branch. And inside of this branch, there's a few reasons why you would want to do it this way. Let's say if you're working on the most up-to-date version of the code, we just pulled down everything from 1.0.2. We're going to make all of our changes. We just made our changes. If we do a git push right now, it's going to push it out to 1.0.2, and it could potentially affect what somebody else is working on. So we don't want to do that. We want to create our own branch that can then be merged where we want it to be at through the person that's doing the quality assurance or QA. So we're going to do a git checkout -b, and then we're going to call this one 1.0.3. And now the changes that we've made won't get pushed out to 1.0.2. They'll actually get pushed out to 1.0.3, and then we can merge it down to 1.0.2 once we verify that we wouldn't break anything, and then the developer that's currently still on 1.0.2 can pull down those changes, or vice versa. They can be pushed up into the branch that we're currently working on. We do a git pull and everything's fine. So it's just something that you need to be aware of, that way if you want to create a new branch, it doesn't have to be the next version of it. It could be 1.0.2.1, something like that, or whatever you want to name it, just as long as you know that it's not affecting anybody else's work. And that's something it takes some developers a little while to get their wrap their head around, because you need to be aware of what everybody else is working on so that you don't affect their code. So we made sure that we pulled the most recent code from 1.0.2, and then we made our changes, and then we created another branch called 1.0.3 with our changes in it. So once we push it out, 1.0.3, then the person that's working on 1.0.2 can finish their changes, and then we can merge our changes into that and then merge it all down to the main. So just be aware of, you don't want to affect somebody else's work, but you also don't want them to affect your work. And there can be a lot of conflicts that appear if you're currently working on the same branch that somebody else is, and then you go to push out something and then the code doesn't line up for whatever reason. So that's a good reason to pull every time you make a change. Whenever you go to set up yourself to make your changes, do your pull, make your changes where you have that most existing code, and then check out a new branch, create a new branch with your changes on it for someone else to be able to verify those merges. That's not you. So you need to see everything all at one time in order to verify your merges. So now we're currently on 1.0.3 with the changes that we made. So if we go to push it out, it would actually push it out to 1.0.3, and it wouldn't affect anybody else's branches. So just some FYI for you go in there. But that kind of led from the conversation I was having, where you need to do git status often just to see where you're at, what files need to be written, what everything needs to be added to it. And then you have your git pull, which is going to be pulling that most recent code. Git checkout, which is going to be creating a new branch for you or checking out an existing branch. And then you have your git commit, which is going to be adding that code and the message. And then finally your git push, which is going to be pushing to your branch. So for this one, I'm just going to do git commit -a, which is going to add those changes. And because I didn't do the -m on it, it brings up this screen right here. So you can just, save this. If you make changes to it, save it. I'm just going to exit out of it because I don't want to do it that way. Let's see, QA. So I don't like using Vim. Some people do. I'm more of a nano guy, so I like doing it the other way. But so Vim is installed with it currently, so that's why I don't like doing that. But I'm going to run this again, do -m, put in my message of initial commit of 1.0.3, and then save that. And then again, we do our git push. It's going to ask us to set up the upstream. Just copy this over, and now we have the most recent changes go into a branch 1.0.3, which is exactly what we wanted it to do. So now we're on the right branch. We have our code that we've made changes to. I'm trying to think of some other commands that you would normally use. I mean, there's a lot of other different commands that you can use, but I think the ones that I went over are the most commonly used. Yeah, so I think that those are the most commonly used. I'm going to go ahead and yeah, I think that's fine. If you have any questions, any specific things that you want to know, leave me a comment, and I can, either create another video in the future, or I can answer your question directly in a comment. But these are the ones that you're going to need to know every time you go to work with Git. With any project, with any type of repository, you're going to need to know those commands. But yeah, I think that's it for this time. If you have any questions, leave me a comment below, and I'll answer it as much as possible. And yep, that's it. So thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later.